on the Ukrainian issue by our Western colleagues, the thought came to my mind that the reason for this meeting was the letter we received in early July from a group of Ukrainian political prisoners under the name of the chairman of the Security Council. I would like to remind you that it was signed by such well-known politicians, human rights activists, civil servants and deputies who are today prisoners of the Zelensky regime, as Elena Bereznaya, Vyacheslav Boguslav, Vitaly Gordin, Artem Dmitruk, Alexander Dubinsky, Oleg Kulinich, Yaroslav Oleshko, Alexander Oleynikov and Yuri Rabuka. You have all had the opportunity to read it and make sure that the number of political prisoners in Ukraine is thousands. The norms of the constitution and the laws are not being followed. People are being thrown into prison for, I quote, calling for peace and holding elections, opposing the war between Slavic peoples, religious and political beliefs, criticism of violent mobilization, and civil opposition. End of quote. Ukrainian political prisoners appeal to the Security Council of the UN calling for the abolition of, I quote, all illegal sanctions imposed since the beginning of the war against the citizens of Ukraine as unconstitutional and repressive measures of political persecution. End of quote. This is, in fact, not just a letter but a cry of the soul. We did not then draw the attention of the Council to this document in order not to give reason to our enemies to try to give it all up for Russian propaganda, as they always do in such cases. It is enough to recall the American citizen Goncalo Lira, who was tortured in January 2024 by the Security Service, whose human rights allegations were also written off by the Kiev regime as Russian propaganda. Since 2014, any criticism of the Ukrainian authorities of the administration itself and its sponsors is Russian propaganda. This is not a cunning logic, and it still works today. Violent mobilization, which was mentioned in the letter to the human rights activists, is also, according to the Kiev clique, the invention of the Kremlin. However, all Ukrainians know that the military commissars of Zelensky or TCC, as they are called in Ukraine, in the literal sense of the word, kidnap people in broad daylight on the streets, in shopping centers, in pharmacies, in sports clubs. At the same time, the toughest, sometimes inhuman methods are used. Hundreds, if not thousands of cases of death and crippling of the callers, which all Ukrainians talk about, are denied by the authorities. Numerous videos on social networks, where men are grabbed on the streets, beaten by families, brutally beaten and pushed into buses, often leaving their small children alone on the street, are cynically called by Ukrainian officials the productions of a mass film. If you believe the Ukrainian authorities, then Ukrainians are generally in the ranks of those who want to go to the front. Can you imagine what it is like for ordinary citizens to hear such a monstrous lie? Recently, however, this system of collective lie and vicious circle has failed. The workers of one of the TCC in Transcarpathia, during another raid, inflicted serious